Hey, what's up? Welcome to Fathering Our Future. I'm Anthony Vandegrift. I'm not the perfect dad, but every day, just like you, I am trying to be better. The other day, I was at Costco, and standing next to me, there was a lady. I never looked. I don't know all the details, but I think she had about 3 kids with her, and she had a daughter that I would have pegged between 5 and 7 based on how big she was and what she sounded like, since I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old myself. And she was not having a good day. She was griping and complaining about something, and I don't even remember what it was. But the mother said, "This is getting out of hand. We're not going to eat here. We're going to take this and we're going to go home." Well, that did not make her daughter happy. And over the course of time that I was standing there, this little girl slapped her mom in the face when she knelt down to talk to her. And her mother didn't really do all that much. She said, "I don't appreciate that you just did that. I can't believe you just did that." And then threw out the same thing. "We're not going to stick around." And it never really settled. It eventually got to the point where the mother just kind of ignored what was going on. Now, I'm not going to use this as a here's everything she did wrong type podcast. I'm using this to drive home a point that I think we can all relate to, because I feel like to some extent we have probably all had these public meltdowns. Now, I'm going to just say this. Maybe my wife can correct me later, but I cannot really tell you a time that one of our children, lost it in public. Like with what I witnessed at Costco, I can't remember one of our kids ever smacking me in the face beyond the age of 1. They do it when they're babies. They don't know, but they learn quick. You don't do that. So have we had some meltdown times? Yes. And they're typically at restaurants, and they're typically when the kids are out of food and they're tired of sitting there. And I get that. I feel like that ought to be somewhat of an expectation for us as fathers. Here's a little tip. When you go out to eat, your kid's going to be sitting there. If there's no bread or chips and salsa that comes out, maybe ask to order the kids' meals first, because they take longer to eat than you do. So if they can get their food first and then your food can come out a few minutes later, you'll end at about the same time, and it will make a much more enjoyable occasion for you, your family, and for everybody else. Now, I think that most of us could say at some point we have had a child get a little bit out of hand in public. And there's different schools of thought on what you should do when that happens. Some people think that woman at Costco should have smacked her daughter right in the face when she got smacked in the face. You got that school of thought. Then you got the other school of thought on the other end of the spectrum who thinks you shouldn't do anything about it. You should just stand there and let your kid act a fool. And then you got everyone else who has an opinion in the middle, and I'm somewhere there, and you might be somewhere there. I don't know. But here's what I want to make sure that you are aware of today. We always talk about the verse in Proverbs that we should train up a child in the way that they should go. And while we probably take this out of context far too often, and we view it as a promise and not a proverb, and we think that if I raise my kid to believe in Jesus and I do all these things, that when they grow up, they're never going to run away from the faith, or they'll eventually come back to the faith if they do run away from it. That's not what that verse means. Sadly, I wish it did. That would be really cool, right? If I just do this right for 18 years or however long I have them in my care, that no matter what, they're going to be okay as an adult. It's not what the verse is trying to say. But it's talking about training up a child in the way that they should go. And it's probably more so related, maybe to some extent, about faith and how they ought to behave themselves, but also the trade in which they would take on as they entered into adulthood. This is what they would focus on. This is what they would do. If you raise them to be a carpenter, well, there's a good likelihood that they're going to be a carpenter when they grow up, and so on. But I think we can easily apply that to everything else. If we raise our kids to be people of character, they're probably going to have character as an adult. If we raise them to have integrity, they're probably going to have integrity as an adult. And here's the trick, though. We prepare for public by what we do in private. The public tantrums are, let me use the word for lack of a better word, eliminated by private teaching. If you don't want the public tantrum, then you need to prioritize private teaching. You need to train your child at home for the real world, for what it's like to go out. So here's what I mean by that. I know it's very easy when you get home to just let your guard down because you're in the four walls and maybe you think, I've child-proofed my house. We can just relax. They can run. They can do whatever. I need to just chill out. When your kids are home, that's probably the last place that you need to try and chill out. This is the place where you need to be most intentional. This is the place where you need to be most locked in. You need to show up, step up, and be present and be involved with your kids when you are at home, because this is your training ground. This is where you really teach your kids how to deal with everything else that's going to come their way in life. So, for example, if you have problems with your kids when you go out to dinner at a restaurant, you fix that by how you have dinner at the table at home as a family. Don't just let your kids run around and throw stuff. Set the table in a very similar fashion. We keep napkins and a salt and pepper shaker on this little round turntable in the middle of our dining room table. We have a little set of question cards that we have up there. We have things that we keep there for convenience sake, similar to how a restaurant functions. We give our kids glasses. They don't have lids. Now, they get that stuff a lot of times when they were younger, at least at certain restaurants. We didn't always do that. We gave them smaller glasses, but they didn't have lids on them. We practiced and we prepared for the spills and for the distractions and for the messes at our dinner table at home so that when they went out, then it was familiar. And then it was, we don't do this at home. We're not going to do this here. It's reinforcing what we have trained them to do and to know at home when we are out in public. And I'm going to say this too. Training them at home is not only for them, it's also for you. It's for me. And this is why this is so important to be intentional in these times at home. Because if you've not prepared yourself on how to deal with a tantrum when you're at a restaurant or you're at whatever choice store you choose to go to, you might end up acting a fool. You might end up spoiling something because you don't know how to respond. I think about that mother at Costco. I don't know if she was just trying to be a little more hands-off, but I kind of got the sense that by her tone, she's going to be the type of person who's not going to deal with this in the moment, but when no one else is around, she's going to whip that girl's butt. I'm not here to judge. I'm not talking about that today. But I'm saying this. I don't think that we need to be the type of fathers, the type of parents who say, when we get home, we're going to deal with this. Deal with it now. I think, and I'm of the opinion, that we ought to parent and discipline our children in a way that is worthy of full respect. Now, you're not going to please everybody, and I don't mean to be a people pleaser in the way that you discipline your kids, but you ought to do discipline with your children in such a way where people look at it and it can be respectable, where you're not acting a fool as well. Your kids run around and then you're doing the same thing, screaming just as much as they are, and you're just a larger version of your child. That doesn't look so respectable. And that's what I'm trying to say. You need to learn how to deal with your kids when they act a fool at the dinner table so that when they do it in public, you know how to respond. You know how to tend to them. So, this is my point, and this is all I want you to focus on today. I want you to know that your home is a training ground for your children. If you want to avoid and hopefully eliminate the public tantrums, you will accomplish that through private teaching. When you are home, you are here to train your children on how to do everything, whether it is how do we eat when we are at the table? What do we do with our plates? What do we do with our dishes? How do we treat furniture? Do we jump on couches? Do we do all this crazy stuff? No, we sit on couches. We sit in chairs. Do we run in particular spaces? No. What do we do when other people are around? This is a big thing that I had to do with my son. I had to tell him lots of times, hey, buddy, you're not the only person in this house. You have to remember that. And this plays out really well when you get into public, because there are still opportunities for you to teach after they get the public experience. So let me just hit on this for a moment. When we would go out in public and he would act a particular way, I would have to remind him. I'd say, buddy, stop for a second and look around. Who do you see? Lots of people. So if we are considerate of the few people who live in our house, how do you think we ought to be when there are many people all around us? When there's one other person in the same space that we are in, should we be considerate of that other person? And the answer for us is a yes. And so there are moments where you have to address something in public when they are actually getting the experience. And then you use that as a teaching moment as well. It's the same thing as you go to high school, you go to college, you have classroom experience, you have expectations on how you think everything is supposed to function and operate, and then you actually step into the real world and you realize, sometimes the boss is a jerk. Sometimes employees are totally different than me. We don't all have the same worldview. Everything is not as it should be systematically, and as far as the processes go, this company doesn't really have any. They barely even write anything down, and if they do, they don't even know where they put it. And you can walk into a world of mass chaos and madness where there is no methodology, and you can make a mistake and now everything's on you because you were expecting something to be the way that you were taught it was going to be, and it's not always that way. Sometimes the real world is nuanced, and that's just the way that it is. Your kids are going to step out into the real world and they're going to make mistakes because sometimes it's nuanced. Sometimes the restaurants you go to are a little awkward. They're set up different. They're not all food gets made in the kitchen and brought out to you by a server. Sometimes it's different. And they don't always know what to do because it's a bit nuanced. You will still have opportunity in those moments to teach, and you need to be watchful so that you can see those opportunities to teach. But by and large, you will train your children at the home. So, this is my encouragement to you today. This is my recommendation, that when you get home, it's not just this place of rest. You need rest. Lord knows I need rest. We all need to prioritize rest. But I think that happens when the kids go to bed. Then you can prioritize your rest. But when they are up and you are awake, this is your responsibility as a father to watch and to teach. And when you are at home, you train. Let's pray. Jesus, we thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your faithfulness to us. We thank you for how you have trained us in so many ways, that as we have walked with you on this discipleship journey, you have shown us your goodness, and you have shown us your nature, and you have shown us your love. You have shown us how we ought to be with other people. I pray that in some similar fashion, God, we can model that to our children, that as they walk with us, that as they sit closely with us at our homes, at our tables, that we can teach them your traits, your qualities, and how they too can be a part of your mission and of your kingdom. Help us, Lord, to do this with faithfulness, and to do this with kindness, and to do this with love. In Jesus' name, amen. As always, I'm here for you. If you need anything, you can reach me at hello@fatheringourfuture.com. I may not always have the right answers. I may not have an answer at all, but I'm here to hear, I'm here to listen, and I'm here to connect you with some of the other people that I have been privileged to meet and to know in this life who may be able to help you out. So if you need me, again, hello@fatheringourfuture.com. But I want to thank you so much for being with me today. This is Fathering Our Future. I'm Anthony Vandegrift, and I hope you will join me next time. Hey, one more time, I want to thank you for listening to Fathering Our Future. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do so wherever you listen and consider leaving a nice review because I would appreciate that. But if you're not connected to Fathering Our Future on social media, you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And there you're going to get some additional content on a more regular basis that you don't always get here on the podcast. Now, the last thing that I would like to ask of you is that you would consider becoming a financial partner of Fathering Our Future, because dads make a difference, and dads are not disposable. Dads are vital, and they are essential, and they are needed. And the impact that dads make doesn't just reside in the home, but it has a ripple effect that goes to churches and communities and culture. And I'm inviting you to be a part of equipping and empowering and educating dads to be the dad that God has called them to be and that their children need them to be. You can become a financial partner with Fathering Our Future. It can be a one-time contribution, a monthly commitment, but by doing that, you play a direct role in impacting dads. You can check the link in the description below. You can pray about it. You can get on board. And I thank you in advance for becoming a part of Fathering Our Future in a special and a dynamic way. God bless you.